Hello and welcome back. So continuing with the terrain manager, you said in this video we're going to start implementing the constructor?
Yes. Well,
Right.
actually, we're going to not just start it, but we should have it finished as well.
All right.
So let's go ahead and create it. So because this is a static class now, we're going to use just the static constructor, which will be TerrainManager. So inside of here, we are going to use size equal to config. Go ahead and add the import type. Yep. All right. So we're gonna get int. This will be vertex or vertex count on this one. We'll use spacing next. So this will be config get float vertex spacing. And I'm going to need two more, but I don't have the fields for them yet. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to our config ini file. And inside of here, I'm going to go ahead and create a new section that will be our TerrainManager settings. And I'm going to have one for interest range. For now, I'll set this to, let's do 5. And then, well, that'll get mad. Get rid of the spaces. And then we'll have our hold range. And I'll set hold range to 9 for now. Jump back over here. Set interest range to be equal config dot get int interest range and hold range equal to config get int hold range. Well, I'll take care of the first part of it. Next up, we need to calculate our tile side count. So tile side count is going to be equal to our interest range minus 1 divided by 2. And I'm not going to use the float because I want an integer on this one. Then we'll create our terrain object. So we'll say terrain object equals new game object. And we'll give it the name of terrain. Let's go ahead and initialize patches. So patches will equal a new dictionary. And we'll set our player position equal to vector3.0 just so it's initialized. So even though I think it would be vector3 based off of this, yeah, it will. I don't need that. Just being redundant. One less line of code. Look at that. Optimization.
Ooh.
All right, so what I do want to do here, though, is go ahead and also skeleton in our update method. Now, we're really not going to be using this too much yet, other than we're going to use it to call another method, which is going to be our handle player panning or terrain panning.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be handle terrain panning. So I'll go ahead and skeleton this as well. Now, the one thing with update that I want to take care of is I want to make sure that we're not running all the time. So what I'll do is do time dot frame count, and then for now I'll just go ahead and set this to 2. So a modulus of 2 equals the 0. So what this will do is it'll just make sure that instead of every frame doing a handle terrain panning, this will just do it every 2 frame or every other frame. And then we can tweak this out later to come up with the update. We could also, well, with this new system, let's see, I'm trying to think how I could do it. I could also do another one which would be fixed update. Matter of fact, let's do that. The reason I'm thinking about switching up to this way is because the creation of new patches doesn't need to be flat out. It'll just slow us down a little bit too much. But there are things that I want to happen more frequently, which is going to be the checks for whether or not patches are visible. Because the camera is going to be moving around much faster than the character is. So when you think about it, Shannon's only running by default at 5 meters a second.
Right.
And it's going to take a while to get from one patch to the other patch. More than you can get ever possibly within a frame or two. So if I'm only doing the terrain panning, say by default about 50 times a second, that's more than enough to make sure that our patches are going to be dropped down in time. But the camera can swing around wildly, depending on how much you want to, zing the mouse around. So the checks for figuring out whether or not we are going to be visible is something that I would want to check, every frame or every other frame. So we'll do that from the update, and we'll do terrain panning from the fixed update. So, and the other thing I want to do before I drop out of here, because I know if I don't do it right now, while I'm thinking about it, I will forget it, and I will have to come back. So I'm going to go ahead and inside of update, I'm going to call the TerrainManager's update. And then inside of here, before we call patch builder update, we're going to call the TerrainManager's fixed update. So that'll make sure that our TerrainManager code gets executed, even though right now it doesn't do anything. So in the next video, what I want to come back and deal with is filling in the code needed, or the initial part of the code, to deal with the terrain panning itself.
Gotcha. Alrighty. Well then, with that is going to wrap up this video, and we will catch you guys in the next. Thanks a lot.